Did it again. Hello, everyone. Hey, Army. This is Nisha, and this is... Oops,
Angela.
wrong way. Angela. One of those two things. Hey. And we are Living Bangtan 7. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much. We already have people on. Yay. I love it. I just love it so much. Listen, this show has us so verklempt. I don't know if you know the word verklempt. Like, it's such an old person word, I think, sometimes. But I think the show has us so verklempt because there's just so much. It's been an emotional week.
It's been an emotional week. This is true.
It's been an emotional week, an emotional day. You know, we have Jimin doing his thing, and we freaking everybody out. Like, what does a crying Jimin mean? Please help us understand, sir.
I think it even started with the Yoongi ticketing, right?
So we're going to talk about that today. A whole lot of, not just talking about him doing the tour. I think it's actually about the experience of what we all went through. Sorry, guys. I'm working on the lighting just a little bit. And just this massive cohesive collective that I saw throughout Army, including our own group. We did collaboratively to be able to make sure that Army, literally across the globe, we're able to get tickets when they probably shouldn't have been able to. Hey, Grace is here.
And Lanny. Hi, Lanny.
Hi, Lanny. Where are you? I lost you. Hi, Grace. Thank you guys for coming. So I think we're going to, I thought about it, and I think we'll take like 5 to 10 minutes to discuss that collective dynamic, because literally we lived and breathed it this week.
Right.
And it feels like it was 2 weeks, but really it was just 3 days.
It does feel like it's been a couple weeks.
It does, but it's just, it was, the intensity was crazy. But at the same time, the Army who came together to help me, I will cry, to help us get what it was that, Max is here. Hey, Mag. One of whom, speaking of which, right there, Max, yay!
Very true.
Without these people, I don't have a clue how we could have done what we did this week. And we had no intention of moving in the direction that we did, the trajectory of working like we did to secure do ticketing the way that we did. We really didn't. We just thought, okay, we'll manage whatever. But sometimes gratitude has to be paid forward. And we're going to talk about that today. That's why our show is called Walking with Soap. Because, thank you so much. Because Walking with Soap is literally the example of what it means to be able to take gratitude and create this beautiful dynamic that we have as an Army, for us to be able to easily, it's not even willingly. I'll take that word out of there, because I really don't think that was necessary. I think just to easily just breathe and do the thing that has to get done for each other, because that's the exchange that we have as a global family. It doesn't mean that the ticketing went well for everyone. It doesn't mean that everything was perfect. It doesn't mean that everyone did the right thing. But I did see a lot of groups out there helping each other at a global perspective. And it really heartens you, and it makes you feel very, very wonderful that we have that level of familiarity or that love for each other. You know what I mean?
And I feel like also people trying to do what they can, like even if it's just one little thing, like sending an email or connecting to someone or something like that. I mean, I know that in our group, I was kind of out of the ticketing thing, but watching the magic was amazing.
The magic, eh?
The magic.
It was magic, my love.
That's what I'm going to call it.
It was magic. That's Naomi and Rachel and my team. And I call them my team because these people just willingly said, "Okay, let's do this thing," and we were like, "Boom!" But let's go ahead and play our promo. We have a lot of new
Yeah.
people coming on today, and I am so grateful that we were able to bring on so many new Army through this endeavor, and that we were able to hopefully be an example of what the love is and the collective, beautiful dynamic of Army means
Mm-hmm.
and is defined by. And
Mm-hmm.
then we're going to talk about that today because that's what walking with soap is, right?
Right.
That's the whole point. So let's start with our promo, and then we're going to go into our walking with soap episode. Hang on,
Mm-hmm.
guys.
We are bulletproof.
And hello, everyone. We are living Bangtan 7, which means living bulletproof 24/7. And we, as LB7, are here to be able to help Army to be able to feel a sense of support and love and connection that helps you to feel protected throughout your day and to offer you as much as we can in mental wellness. And that is our purpose. I am going to go ahead and run to our lovely duck. And today's lovely show, Walking with
Mm-hmm.
Soap, it focuses on our soap kings, Hoseok and Yoongi, and the paths they've taken on as artists, as intellectuals, creators, friends, and protectors. We've watched them grow a friendship that started back in 2010. That's pretty incredible if you think about it.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine they were babies.
That's
Uh,
right.
just two kids from Daegu and Gwangju who wanted to sing and rap and produce and dance. And they struggled in every way possible as the OG members whose shoulders, they kind of held the weight of the group dynamic and stability because it was Namjoon, Yoongi, and then we had our Gwonju baby. We had Hoseok come along, and the
Mm-hmm.
three of them just completely shouldered that weight for a long time, and it was tough,
Mm-hmm.
really tough for them. And in
Right.
Suchwita, this episode of Suchwita, we got even more of a look of how tough it was for them.
Yes.
Yoongi was extremely frank about how difficult life was. So they help bear the weight of the group dynamic and stability, and they've done that throughout, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But each of
Mm-hmm.
them, has done that in a different way. And even talent at a time when the genre they were creating was ridiculed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had to bear that weight. That's what hip hop file is about, and of course their ciphers.
Right.
We know that Yoongi lived with depressive disorders that led him to thoughts of self harm. And we also know now, much more transparently, that Hoseok has spoken about dealing with identity and confidence.
Right.
I mean, he's a very confident being, but at the same time, it was difficult for him because he was stepping into a world that wasn't necessarily his own. That's a rough thing for a kid of 19 and 18 to have to deal
Right.
with. Um,
No, I think that that's really true. Like you said, I mean, I think Jungi's been very frank about a lot of his,
mhm,
kind of ups and downs.
mhm.
I think we assumed, that Hobie had a lot of ups and downs too, but I think he's been more upfront with kind of what he's gone through.
Yeah,
And it was probably even worse than we really even thought.
I think yes. I think yes. I mean, his support
Mhm.
system, we see how his Emoni, and his Abuji seemed to be extremely supportive, his sister supportive, and
Yeah,
thankfully there was that. But
right.
as he unravels the story with the documentary, and
Mhm.
I keep saying, go back and watch the Disney Plus Korea videos. He's extremely transparent in those,
Yes.
and I think at times I was telling you that I think that they would be perfect mediums for us to be able to teach about identity and confidence and
Mhm.
even self awareness because of his
Mhm.
choice to talk to himself. And then the answers in the one that came out last week were pretty incredible as well. But then
Right.
we have Yoongi with these two Suchita episodes with Tabo, and
That was an
that's
amazing, I mean, he's very open, very honest, very open, And I did see some clips from the one last week too, and he was talking about how hard life really was for them.
It was pretty, I won't say shocking because, we've been around a while, so we to some extent understand
Right.
what they've been through. But boy, I mean that he was open enough to say to us, we had no food.
We had no
Or
food.
we had no furniture, and we had to go find it in garbage dumps
The
and
street.
the street. And there are days when we had to figure out what we, and he'd been doing that anyway, because remember, he'd been with a group prior.
Right.
And the group that he was with prior, they were struggling as in the rap industry, and of course, as a producer, he was taken advantage of quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what are some of our focuses for today?
All right. So a couple of things that we wanted to talk about. Yoongi's folio, kind of the meaning, the concept. Why is this tour now? I mean, I think we probably, pretty much know the pattern that we're seeing with the members and getting ready to enlist. What sides of Yoongi has he allowed us to see and really connect through Suchwita? Am I saying that correctly?
I know. I hope so.
I have a little stuffy nose starting, I can just tell. So, I think looking at Yoongi, looking at what he's giving us right now in terms of, his concepts, his folio, his tour. Jhope, his folio, I mean, what he gave with the On the Street blew me away. He's been showing us a whole level of side of him of contemplation, introspection. I feel like this kind of calmness about him is the word that I had used. His transitional confidence, right? Getting ready. I think he feels safe with his decision. He feels confident with his decision, and he's kind of showing this as well. So we're going to have kind of those two little parts today.
The best that we can in the time that we have.
Yeah.
Sure. I think, okay. So I had written. I think I said that right.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if I have any intelligence. It comes and goes so quickly. Flits in and flits out. So I always go back to that concept of when BTS debuted 10 years ago. And then we want to think and ponder on that. When they debuted 10 years ago, how has the trajectory completely changed from the origins of Minyoongi and junghoseok? So you notice I always keep that open, Angela. I never answer that question up here. I just keep it here because I thought that we would organically do it, because Army helps us to answer this question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So during the show, there's a couple key questions for our first timers here, and we post them into the chat. And so you just want to go ahead and answer those back for us. We post them early so you have time to ponder. And then a lot of times during the show, what we do is during the show is we ask each other questions, but those questions are meant for you to answer as well. So feel comfortable to jump on the chat and answer how you feel and from your perspective, because actually that helps us to guide the show a lot in terms of what we're doing. So we're going to talk about completely different life trajectories, and then walking as soap, because each of these two people had, again, as they say so many times, the seven of them would probably have never met each other.
Right.
They wouldn't have known who each other was because they had seven different paths. Namjoon, some people knew him because he was in the rap scene. So for him and Yoongi, it made sense. But a lot of the rest, it would have taken time. So having completely different life trajectories, what are the merging points that help us to connect to soap as soap, not just to Yoongi and Hoseok, right? Because the two of them are, I mean, come on, Jhope. He doesn't. That's his person. So So I wrote something, and I want us to. I wanted you to say this one. There's a period of time. There's a period of time. Because I think that's a really important thing with you as an educator.
Oh, I see it. Yes. Well, and that's true. I mean, there's a period of time between knowing where we are, where we're going, why. Is it right for me and right for the people in my life? I love that. I love that. You could probably do a whole show just on that.
Just on
Um,
this. Mm-hmm.
and when you think about, I mean, Jungi's talked a lot about his, the struggle with his parents, right? In the direction that he was going and the direction that maybe they saw him going. I think that a lot of us go through those, kind of times with our parents, having hopefully different choices for us or different thoughts about our paths, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot to keep going on that path, kind of, I don't want to say maybe against your parents, but
No.
maybe
Yeah.
you
Yeah. I
feel like
get.
maybe you're letting your parents down, you're doing things like that. And he just kept going straight on that path.
So we're going to have this as the foundation for the walking with soap. So as you contemplate what we're saying today and how we kind of unfold it, one of the things we want, the message that we aw, hi Mary, so happy. Is that there's a period of time between knowing where we are going, and why. And that why, I probably think, is the place at which both of them are right now.
Right.
I think that that's very important to the walking with someone path. So
Right.
if we're talking about a student and you're working with them, and with the ages that you're working with, how would you guide them to understanding that period of time between acknowledging who you are, and acknowledging that where you're going isn't necessarily who you're going to be?
Well, I do think, kind of me working with like pre-teens, I think that one of the things, I always tell them you have to be true to yourself. And the one thing I say is, do you love what you're doing? Is this, are you happy doing what you're doing? Like if there's a child who wants to pursue arts or music, or they like math, they like science, you have to be happy with what you're doing. And you might change later down the road, but for now, do what you're happy with and what you feel comfortable with. And I think a lot of parents, once you kind of, talk to them about how their child's feeling, and that their child's happy, I think they're usually very supportive, and want their children to be happy, right? And I think that was probably true of Yoongi also, right? And deep down, everyone wants their child to be happy.
Yeah.
So encouraging, even if it's not what you thought your child was not going to, do this certain path, but they're happy. I think that's really important.
I love that. I love this concept. So, and that is how we conceived walking with. Walking with is about that space between knowing where we are, knowing where we're going, and then being able to say, oh, this is why I'm doing it. Because most of us, as you just said, when we're in youth and formative years, we don't have a clue. We're doing what we're told to do, which is what our society, the social cultural norms are telling us to do. And in the same way, BTS was walking, like I said, into a trajectory of music in an industry where they completely flipped the tide and the flow of where that industry was going. And now we have that recognized because Tableau said it. Tableau was like, no. Hoshi said it. They're like, no. The door was flung open because you flung it open.
Right.
But talk to me a little bit about identity, Angela, and at the moment that, say, we're talking about Hoseok, and I'm going to put up a question right now, so I want Army to look at this question.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is what we're talking about as we move forward. So in the moments of time that they're formulating that why, it took them 10 years to formulate the why. They're comfortable with the why now. Yoongi literally is saying it in Suchwita, I am now comfortable with my why. So if that's the case, here's the question. Here it is. Why is it I'm so sorry, guys. Sometimes it's a pain. So it's at the bottom. What does it mean to put aside the image others see in you and find the you that holds your power and confidence?
Well, I think that takes a lot of introspection, right? To put aside what people are viewing you as, and what you really, what you're holding is what you want to be. What's your truth? What do you see for yourself? I sometimes when I kind of look back, when I think of something like the that first kind of show they did, the American Hustle Life, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, they just didn't seem, they didn't look comfortable in their skin sometimes. That was,
Oh, they weren't.
yeah,
They weren't moving.
that wasn't, they weren't being true to themselves, right? So what they wanted was not quite, I mean, they didn't have maybe the voice yet, right? I mean, that came for sure. And then once they had their voice and wanted to, you know, be who they wanted to be, they got that power, they got that confidence. And I think that's really important for people to, feel comfortable in their skin, right? And then the power and the confidence comes with that,
Yeah,
comes
it comes with.
automatically, right?
Does it? Does it come automatically? Is the question.
I mean, no, that's good. I mean, maybe not automatically, but with time it comes more than when you're feeling uncomfortable.
Right, right.
You
And
know,
and it's a norm. It's a
yeah,
normative for
yeah.
a an 8, a 9, a 10 to go through one level of figuring out
Mm,
one level of who I am right this moment,
mm,
and then you're going to switch completely into a completely different normative of who you are, and that's called the state. That's the stages of life. So we're
right.
talking about a 19-year-olds who are in that space. So let's jump in, and so I want to highlight this that
Mhm.
Charlene said that both Yoongi and Hobie didn't do what they were told. That's
Mhm.
not the case. They had to, otherwise they would never have been able to make it as trainees. They could have been kicked out. Hoseok could have been kicked out anyway. Yoongi was
Mm,
less likely to be because of what he brought, but Hoseok brought everything. So they had to traverse a world which they will talk to you about that
yeah.
they know they couldn't always do. They wanted to be different people, but that wasn't. They couldn't actually present that. That didn't mean
Mm,
that they didn't have some concept of their trajectory. But what happened in coming into yes, and they grow up.
mm,
Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with the comments at the same time. But what happens is exactly what Lani says here:
yeah.
is you're taking responsibility for yourself, and it's a very
Yeah.
scary and overwhelming thing. And it's yes, it is easier sometimes, depending on your culture, to have someone else be the person handling that for you.
Mhm. Mhm.
But in this case with them, it was right because they didn't know what it meant to be an idol. But on top of that, the type of idol they were going to become was certainly not what the norm was. They were completely breaking the molds and barriers. And
Right.
so, and the rap line being this had, oh, yeah, no, I get what you're saying, Charlene. Cool, 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 cool.
Mhm.
I think Hobie kind of was always very, very good with his parents in terms of that.
Yeah.
But I think um, Yoongi, yeah, it was a it was a bit rough for him too, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of the comments. It really
Mhm.
helped us. So let's jump in then and let me go with okay. So we're gonna ask this question to him, and then you have a little bit of time to answer this. It doesn't have to be immediate. Oh, Grace gave me an answer too, so I'm gonna go back. You want to grab Grace's question while I put
Yep.
the next question in?
Mhm.
You don't mind?
I remember those days, the trauma, yes, that show did for the boys, especially JK. He was so young. Oh, I can hardly watch it. I really can't anymore because they
Uh,
look so uncomfortable.
it
Yeah.
was horrible.
Yeah.
I watch it from a clinical perspective, and so
Mm.
for me, I'm like, no, this is not how we
Mhm.
do things. This is not how you
Mhm.
bring someone to the U.S. and then pretend you're kidnapping them. No,
Oh.
I just how why would you choose to traumatize them if that's the
Yeah.
representation that you want to to give of this country? That wasn't a good way of doing things, but. Um,
Yeah.
Thankfully, he had 6 youngs to help him through that. It
Right.
definitely had an impact on it. So
Right.
uh, let's go into talking about D2. And then I think we're posting really quickly this one. So you guys have some time to give me an answer for this. What is your favorite Yoongi and J-Hope moment? So it's a soap moment. This is the playful part of it. I know mine, and I hope I should I say it and then like get it out because other people are gonna say it. So
Yeah, you probably want to go first.
other people are gonna say it. Like it automatically comes to your mind when you think of soap. Immediately, you think of Otsukare Samarishika. Tsukare Samarishika. I'm sorry, but that was like one of the cutest things I've ever seen in my their whole time. They were so cute.
Really cute.
I mean, there was a lot of great soap moments. Certainly, don't get me wrong, especially Tear. Tear on stage is pure fire, man. Absolute fire. But I love the playfulness of Otsukare. Because Yoongi's a playful person. In all of the seriousness, he's a very playful person.
True.
Excuse me.
I mean, he gives off the whole vibe of, kind of like stoic sometimes, but I think there is that whole playful side of him. My favorite Yoongi quote is, when he comes back in his next life, he wants to be a rock. Right? That kind of stoic, dry wit. Exactly, Charlene. That dry wit, definitely.
Very, absolutely. I love it. And you remember Tay saying that he was in his next life, he was going to take him because he'd be a rock, and he was going to take him wherever he wanted to go, to the ocean, so he could be on the beach.
Take him on his journeys.
And Padana, into the Padana. I was like, oh, Tay's so cute.
So funny. So funny.
Adorable. So adorable. So we're going to jump in. We didn't do songs in the way that we normally do this week. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on here. So we're going to talk, I'm going to jump down to Minyoongi and Yoongi's D2 compositions and how they were the springboard, in a sense, to start disconnecting or releasing the angst and pain that had been a huge source of his life as BTS and as Suga. Up until that point when he did D2, which we got, of course, in 2020. And I jumped straight to D2 because I said in the past that this was what I wanted to focus on. That this was a turning point after Interlude Shadow, if you remember, where he was able to say, look, we got Namjoon's persona, we got Shadow, and we got ego. And these three parts of the body and the self going through that massive state of, it's not rebellion, right? It's about looking at the things that are suppressing you, making you feel like you're a shadow in your own life and saying, I need to exist outside of that, right? So, and they've been struggling with that for so long. Does everybody remember in Festa the conversation where Yoongi and Namjoon are saying they had gotten to a point where they couldn't find a motivation to write. They couldn't find a motivation to create words anymore, and that's part of why they knew that they needed to take this break.
Well, and that was the part I think that RM was really choked up about, right? Was when he was talking about that.
It was. You said it a lot. If you actually go back and watch it again, because it's a rough one to watch.
Right.
Yeah, it's a rough one to watch. I admit that, and I break it down. But I've watched it back 3 times since then, and I clearly listen. Yoongi's talking about transition and about walking with each of them in a way that they had been BTS, and that's what Namjoon was saying, that they had walked this path, and here there are 7 of them walking like this the whole time. And sure, they moved like this, right, in and out of flux, and but they'd had no exactly. Yes, at that moment, they had moved past the anger, they had moved past the angst, and they were now in a place where they had a confidence. Even though life is not easy for these guys. I'm sure you all know it doesn't matter that there's 60 million of us out here; they still have it rough.
True.
Yeah, they still do. So what do you think then, Angela, about this next part is yours?
Is it?
You are here. Yeah, this is all you.
This is me. Oh. Well, there you go. So did I do a reel on one of these?
You did not, but it's okay. Just read it and then we'll post it in as a banner.
Okay.
I have no problem with that at all.
So this was about his D2 compositions, right? And how they were the springboard, really, in a sense, to start disconnecting, releasing the angst and the pain, as you mentioned. The lead single from his first mixtape discussed his success and identity, while the secondary single, Give It To Me, was a diss track, addressing those who would like to see him fail.
Mhm.
His second mixtape, right, co-writers on the album, his longtime big hit producer, P-Dog, while D2 contained Suga's trademark raw sensibility, quote, and brutal honesty, also which we found on AgustD. The record was more unapologetic yet humble, is the quote. The lead single, Dishita, co-written with El Capitan, was an anthem of victory and pride about Suga's growth and his global success as an artist. That was an amazing.
That's
And featured various South Korean, the historical and cultural references. We've seen that in a lot come up. It gained attention for its combining elements of traditional Korean music with rap and trap beats. And according to Suga, the project was a documentation of his rise from nothing to being at the top of the global music game at age 28. He was heavily impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. He called the body of songs the output of my time in quarantine. So that was really an amazing kind of collection of compositions that he wrote during that time. And also kind of, him giving himself credit that he's at the top of his game now. And getting that credit for being like an amazing songwriter, producer, rapper, getting that full credit for everything. Mm-hmm.
Well, he's actually one of the highest credited writers, producers in the industry at this point. And
I think I read the other day was 147 songs, something that has some kind of credit on.
It was at that time, but to be honest with you, I even from what our research is I think that there's more credits at this point.
Is it more?
Yeah, I think it's.
Which is, it's a huge number. That's an amazing
insane.
Yeah,
it's pretty insane. I went through actually the discography when we were doing the research, and I was like, I'm going to scroll through all of this. And I was like, the interesting thing is I kind of knew. I knew a lot more of it than I expected to have known.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk really quickly, and I can quickly grab this for you, but or maybe you'll grab it. But the lyrics for Suchwita, excuse me, for Tomorrow. I apologize. Could you grab the lyrics for Tomorrow, because Yoongi talked about that during this Suchwita episode, and actually because they were talking about dreams, his trademark thing about asking about what your dream is, and
the no more dream.
And he leaves it open to them to interpret what it means, what that dream means, right? Mm-hmm. And then his guest quickly said, if it's okay with you, I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'll go back to my dream. And he said, I wanted, because Yoongi had asked him if there was a favorite role that he had played, if there was a favorite character. And yeah, exactly, Grace. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. But he then asked, well, did you have a favorite song? And and Yoongi actually immediately said exactly what he said in the past. He said Tomorrow, because Tomorrow ended up being an anthem. And I actually put I thought I put the screenshots in here. I will do my best. If I don't have them, I apologize.
I do have a No More Dream reel.
So Tomorrow's different, but let's do the No More Dream one actually, and I'll get the Tomorrow one for you.
Okay.
And so the No More Dream and the Tomorrow were at a time when they were completely trying to understand what it was to be grounded. And both him and Hoseok, all of them, all 7 of them, but Hoseok at the time still trying to find his wheel to be able to actually be a rapper, when that, he trained to be a singer, not actually a rapper. But you know what? His beatboxing was phenomenal. So the transition made sense, because Hoseok's sense of rhythm is unreal. I mean, just at the drop of a pen, Hoseok can jump into a beat, jump into a rhythm, and his dance, the fluidity is like nothing. I've seen dance, I love dance, but he's incredible. So I'm going to grab the lyrics, and you can go ahead and do No More Dream. And then we'll chat about that a little bit while I grab other one.
I'll probably play this. We'll see how fast it goes. I've won a couple times.
Yeah, but you know.
The 90s rap. Yeah, reminiscent of 90s rap. I live so comfortably, even if I don't have a dream. No one says anything. Every day just repeats. Adults and parents cram us with dreams stuck in place. Kind of what we were talking about. Be a government employee. Disobey society. Grant a special pardon to your dream. What says, what do you got to say now when you see in your mirror? Go your own way. Even if you live one day, do something. Kind of really what we were just talking about, right?
It's exactly what we were talking about. Exactly. And so it was easy for me to go, oh, he literally wrote this when he was in a hospital and having his appendix taken out. He wrote this for us.
That's amazing.
It's amazing to me that he already had the fortitude or the width, you know, the bandwidth to be able to know that the relevance of what this song meant was going to mean for him. And it's still today. I think that there hasn't been a moment where they're not talking to us about walking a path that helps us to be able to. What do you think?
I think it's to hopefully instill confidence or we can have our own self-confidence too. I mean, I think that if we see that path and we question, like he says, question, is this your dream? When you look in the mirror, can you look in the mirror and can you feel confident with what you're doing? That's my interpretation.
Oh, I actually pretty much interpret it the same way. But are kids asked to do that? Are kids allowed to do that? I
think more and more these days. I mean, I think that, you have these conversations with kids, that there are some things that we have to do in life. We have to study certain things, right, to get through. But once you get to explore and choose, can you look in the mirror and say you're happy with your choices? I mean, I think that's, we all have to learn some of that math, science, history, a little bit of everything, and then, choose your passion. And I think more and more, I think that kids are doing that.
So, and let's just to clarify, there's a kind of an age phenomenon in terms of when that should happen. I think that as educators, as healthcare providers, as parents, as support systems in the sisters, brothers, siblings, any support system that we can offer to someone, I believe that it makes sense for us to be able to instill in them that the dream is always a possibility and that dream is theirs and not anyone else's. And so they should own that dream, right? They should own that dream and let it be the one that belongs to them. Otherwise, now it's become my dream. It's not my dream. It was never. Yoongi went in there with a dream, and he was always pretty frank about the fact that he went to Big Hit with the dream of being a producer, but that's not actually the path that ended up, that he ended up getting, right? And Hoseok knew that he was going to be a singer because it's actually what he wanted in his life. But
wasn't it also Yoongi that said, and you said we were only going to have to dance a little bit, and the dance is kept getting harder and harder and harder.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he stepped up everything that was given to him to do. I mean, I don't think he ever pictured himself as being, a huge dancer, but he's an amazing dancer.
He's an absolutely amazing dancer. He's absolutely stellar at it. And, he'll say that now. He'll be like, yeah, I can dance. But the funny thing is that when they were doing their early promotions, they were actually backup dancers. That's part of what they did in early promotions.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I've seen those.
So they would get to be backup dancers, and he was obviously had to be good in order to do it, right? And then Hoseok already had some level of a philosophy of who he wanted to be, because Hoseok was already dancing with Neuron, and we've talked about that a lot, about the success that he had with Neuron, that it allowed him, I would say, to have some visibility, or at least help him with confidence of dance.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I am just so proud of his ability to allow himself to transition when it's not what he wanted, right? His original, none of their paths. Well, first of all, Cookie, he didn't know what his path is. Cookie just was so darn good at what he was doing that all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden one day Cookie could just could do this thing, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was pretty. It's phenomenal that he was able to walk in and just be who he is and just get in there. His talent was obvious, but it's not like that for everybody, right?
No.
Mm-hmm.
And not everyone, like he says in the song, get a job, be a government employee. I mean, that's kind of the safe, easy path, right? And what your parents might want you to do, right? Have a safe, easy path, get this job, get married, have kids, you know, kind of life like this. I mean, not everyone's successful when they go on to try kind of entertainment type positions or, seek jobs, um, in the entertainment industry. It's a tough industry and it takes a lot of grit.
It takes a ton of grit
Mm-hmm.
to get to that place. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
100%. So it's not that he was saying don't have the dream. What he was saying is that the dream needed to be yours.
Right.
I don't know why the second one is being so silly. It's not letting me download, but that's okay. I got the next one ready. Okay. So that being said, we have. Are we gonna put out? Did anyone have any answers for the question?
Your favorite soap moment? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I mean, again, one of the things we don't do here is even though they've been extremely transparent and very upfront with us about what they've been through, we don't speak to their experiences in that way because we don't feel it's our place to do that. But I definitely know that Yoongi has always been very open about the fact that it wasn't his parents didn't believe in what he was doing, and that's not abnormal in the Asian cultural
Yeah.
or in the POC norm that we
Yeah.
would have parents who don't believe in what your dream is, and that because that's they're worried for you, so they are
Yeah.
going to worry that that's not going to make sense for you, and I
Right.
get that. And now he in his Suchwita episodes is like, yeah, I totally get that now.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
understand where they were coming from. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to grab the chat real quick, my dear?
Sure.
And then I got the second one here and we're ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, Charlene's saying, I think that's right. There are, things that you have to do along your journey. Maybe college is one of them, so you always have that. But if it's your dream to do something else, you always have that though. And I think that that's really important. Thanks for that comment.
That's perfect. And then that
Mm-hmm.
leads straight into tomorrow, which he talked
Mm-hmm.
about. And how is it that he wrote it when he was 21 and it's 9 years, 8 years
Mm-hmm.
later. And that song still literally, he can quote the words from the song. They forget their songs because they have so many in the discography, but he's
Right.
never forgotten this. And this is certainly not the first or second or third time I've heard Minyoongi talk about this song and how important it was and why he wrote it the way as he did. So it says here that I'm so sorry. It's hard for me to actually see it sometimes because the tile gets in the front. So I'm just gonna run back over here and do it this way. It's funny, when I was young, I believed that anything was possible.
Mm.
Feel that living each day by earning one day is tight. Control beat all of the time, keep going down. Every day repeats control plus C, control plus V. That means copy and paste, copy.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep copying and pasting. It means you keep repeating the same day. That means that you're living each day by earning one day that's so tight that every day becomes a self-contained environment and there is no forward movement because all you can do is see this day that you have right now. There's a long way to go, but why am I in the same place? Don't we all ask this question? Haven't we all asked this exact same question? To be fair, maybe we should all ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
how do we move forward? How do we walk forward if we don't stop and ask ourselves, why am I in the same place? Am I supposed to be in
Mhm.
the same place? Right?
Mhm.
Right? And
Right.
even if I shout out in frustration, it's an echo in the air. It's just me shouting back to myself because now there's not necessarily anyone hearing what I'm saying. And
Mm.
what that's
Mhm.
what I get the social issue is right now.
Mm.
And to be fair, it hasn't changed because we know the world we're living in. A lot of times we're shouting out into the world, look, this is not the right thing. This is not the right path. This is not the right thing to do. And who's listening?
Well, and I also think a little bit there for me means like that you would live each day without regret, right? So you don't look back
Mm-hmm.
maybe at our age now and you're like, oh, I regret that I didn't ever do this or try this or explore this. Um, yeah, living each day. I
Mm-hmm.
like that. Mm-hmm.
Then he says, I hope tomorrow will be better than today.
Yeah.
And so that's a big statement for anyone to have in their life, is that to
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge that I hope tomorrow is going to be a better day. A lot of people don't have the wherewithal to even acknowledge that there is a possibility that tomorrow is going to be a better day.
Right.
You know? And they talked about that as trainees, how they didn't know every day. But the reason
Mm-hmm.
they were able to survive and move on as they kept moving, even when they had literally nothing, every single time the company went bankrupt, they kept going, was
Right.
they had 7 of them to hold on to each other to be able to help them to continue walking on this path.
Mm-hmm.
So I, for one, look at what they went through, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Angela, but it would be unusual for you and I to say that we, to the rest of the world, to understand that we identify with that the struggle of that path and staying and moving forward. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, a lot of people would give up, right? I mean, a lot of people would say, maybe a few little bumps here and there. All right, I give up. I've tried it. I'll go back. Kind of do that safe path, the safe route, right? Um, but to keep going as much as they did, I, I can't imagine that determination, grit,
Mm-hmm.
the day-to-day grind that it took to do that. The 7 of them being together. Mm-hmm. I
So
cannot imagine.
I can't. I think about it, and it actually is what helps me at my age to be able to move on in my trajectory and to keep walking. It's not that
Right.
they're the first person to inspire me to do that. It's my inspiration has, thank God, it's been coming slowly as with my company, but they're the people who solidified that it was a necessary step in the life of my life. And so
Mm.
even though I didn't walk the path the way they did, that I also had the right to be able to believe in tomorrow, or
Right.
to believe that tomorrow was a possibility, that dream was a possibility. So Yoongi says to us, I'm begging you, I'm just begging, follow your dream
Mhm.
like a breaker, like a breaker.
Mhm.
Even if it
Mhm.
breaks, even if that dream breaks, oh better, oh better. It's fine because at least you've
Mhm.
tried it. Follow your dream like a breaker, like a breaker. Even if it collapses, oh, don't run away, never. What you just said,
Mhm.
what you just said.
Mhm.
It can collapse, right?
Right.
But keep going, and
Right.
then think about the fact that the dream can change into something else. Because we talked about that last week, and then I talked about it on my workshop this week, that a dream is only a manifestation of this moment and the person and the mind and the thinking, the philosophy that you have right now. And so he's saying in his little 21-year-old self at this time, 21, 22,
Mm.
the same thing. He's saying, look,
Mhm.
that's okay if the dream collapses in this moment. I know it's going to be really hard, but we kind of have to allow ourselves to move on. Don't run away from it, you know.
Right.
And Namjoon actually talks about that in Wildflower. It has a lot to do,
Mhm.
right? That the
Mhm.
concept of Wildflower has a lot to do with this. And then
Right.
he says, never, because the dawn before the sun rises is the darkest. So there you go.
Mhm.
Like when life is the hardest that it's going to be the darkest, but don't forget that the sun's going to rise.
Right.
At some point it has to, right? And don't give up.
Right.
Give up on dreaming. In the
Right.
distant future, never forget the you of now. But that's the thing he's been saying in Suchwita, is that he's like, the reflection of going back and realizing what they've all been through, what he's been through as he walked along this path, is knowing that in the future I needed to look back at this person. And he talks about it. That's for me why he does Suchwita, is this line, in the distant future, never forget the you of now. Is that talking about the you, that person. And remember, wherever you are right now, it's just taking a break. What a concept, man. We have like so many comments right now.
These lyrics are amazing.
Yeah, these lyrics are just phenomenal, and you can completely understand why this still remains a favorite for him. Yeah, we have 8 comments sitting in here. Oof, okay.
No, there's more. Yeah.
Okay. Right? Because Grace is also a teacher.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Now
That's true.
you can see how they exactly. You're correct. But it wasn't just kids, right? I'm 57. When I heard this song, it also encouraged me, and it helped me to be able to, like I just said, to be able to believe that I had a right to that trajectory, that it was okay, because even though I had been told that maybe I didn't have a right to it, that I needed to believe that I do have a right to it. That's a huge concept when anyone is struggling. I don't want to tell you, let me explain. We're not talking about only children. We're talking about the entire existence. All of us are going through these experiences, right? Oh, I like this. Thank you so much. Oh, that's why your thing is still in Korea. Expat. So the work that the rap line did to be able to create the beauty. Oh, hey Naja. The beauty that they did, and the ability for them. So let me ask you then, Angela, and then everyone out there, when we talk, do you I don't want to say understand, because that's not right for me to say that, but does it make sense, the concept of walking a path, and how I'm saying walking with soap and with all 7 of the boys and all of BTS, that being able to look at that path that they've walked on has helped us to actually be able to find our own truth, or to find our own understanding of, let me go back to my banner from the very beginning. My banner. This one. For all the people who weren't here at the beginning. This is our lead out question. There's a time between knowing where we are and where we are going, and why. And is it right for me and the people in my life?
I mean, I do have to say, I often think about that. This is my 31st year of teaching, and I kind of sometimes, think about, maybe I want to try something else. Maybe it's okay. Maybe my path was going to be different, but I chose a very safe path, 30 years ago. But maybe I, do things like this with you, right? A little bit outside my comfort zone. And something different, something that I wouldn't have ever dreamed of 5 years ago that I would be doing. And so everyone's path, I think I do think about them a lot when I think about it's okay to change paths. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to try something different, try something new that maybe I always wanted to, but I've never been able to. Having been, a teacher in this kind of traditional, kind of work life, for a long time, I think that, yeah, exactly. Would I do things different 30 years ago? I would have liked to have tried something different if I, had them behind me 30 years ago. I might have, definitely. My path might have been different.
But
Mhm.
there's a period of time between knowing where we are and where we're
Mhm.
going.
Yeah.
And but what do we constantly say in this show? Life is not static. There's
Yeah.
no such thing. The person you were and I were 30 years ago cannot possibly be the person we're referencing in order to make those changes today.
Right.
And
Right.
that's what he's saying. So when he spoke to Tableau about
Mhm.
how those lyrics were about the hopes and dreams that they had at the time, and how that had an impression on an entire generations of people, and why
Yeah.
Epic High has connected so clearly with an entire generations of people, and why BTS has imp- left such a huge indelible impression in our existence, is because they allowed us to watch them walk.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
that helped us to be able to go, oh, oh, I can move forward. There is forward propulsion.
Right.
I'm not locked into this identity. I
Right.
actually can move along with that identity. And I can
Mhm.
still have a dream, even though the dream may change a little bit.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense, everybody? I hope
Yeah.
I hope we're pulling it all together.
No, that's really, I mean, what we know Charlene is saying, going with the tide, and the tide brought you exactly where you needed to be. That's perfect. Mhm.
It is. But for a lot of people, and it's perfect, it absolutely is.
Mhm.
It's where I am now,
Right.
but it's not where I was then. It's not
Mhm.
where I was 10 years ago or 14 years ago, but where I have learned to get to. It's been a
Mhm.
peeling away process, like
Mhm.
peeling
Right.
away the layers of the onion, like the boys have talked about, everyone talks about.
Right.
When you peel away the layers of the onion, you're going to cry till you
Mhm.
get to and while you're chopping it up and preparing it, you're going to cry because that's
Right.
the emotional response that it elicits physically. And
Right.
that's not much you can control about that, other than it is part of the process.
Right.
So that's what he's saying in Tomorrow, is with the collapse, and that those collapses are normal. And the thing was, he was writing it then, and he was still struggling to believe it. So at the time, they all were struggling to believe it, and we know that now because we've gotten back and we've been able to hear from them about their journey since
Mm.
2015 on, and then we get Wildflower, which literally tells us that Namjoon has literally sat in this place of struggling with the ability to
Right.
move forward in his own walking path, and
Right.
it just hurts you, but then you also understand it because we've experienced it, and it
Mhm.
makes sense. That is
Mhm.
absolutely what Wings about. Girl, you and I are gonna have to. If you've ever watched this show before, go back and watch how many times I have talked about Wings and how important
Mhm.
Wings has been in my life. I mean, I knew
Right.
the Wings since 2014, but casually. But 2016 is where life changed for me because of Wings. Wings
Right.
is 1,000% about that forward propulsion and trajectory, but allowing yourself to understand that you can give into temptation. Temptation
Mhm.
is going to sit there, and what am I going to do with that temptation? Do I acknowledge it? Do I know where I am right now? Do
Right.
I acknowledge where I am in this moment as I'm walking along that path? And so I know we're getting heavy. We're getting heavy.
Should we talk about Yoongi's folio?
Let's do folio, girl. You got that all ready for me, right?
I think I do.
And we're at
Let's see.
5:44, so we got to move straight into my lovey.
누군간 여기서 내려야 돼. 할 순 없지만 누가 내려도 맞지. 서로 놓지 말고 그저 마음 가는 대로 질질 끌지 말고 이제 내려도 맞지. 그저 내보자고 반복되는 seesaw game. 이제 그만해. hold up 네가 없는 이 시속 위를 걸어. hold up 네가 없는 처음의 그때처럼. hold up 네가 없는 이 시속 위를 걸어. hold up 네가 없는 이 시속 변수 내려.
understand the word.
I just started right away with his with that song, because that is probably my favorite Yoongi song. So I had put that with his folio. But when I was just looking again at those pictures now, I hadn't looked at them for a few days. Him looking at the map, him looking at the stars. Um, it's kind of coming together to me. Like there's a whole story with his folio. So does it seem like maybe and then I guess the title, right? The Holy Me or the Whole Me. Very kind of a very unique title too. So
this has a lot of spiritual context to it.
Sorry?
A ton of spiritual context to it.
But
about this internal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, I've seen him that part. I know I love that song. Oh. And
everybody
so
loves
many of his songs, and I think this folio are about kind of like the seesaw, the balance,
100%. You never walk alone. 1,000% falls into it, and the boys actually will tell you that. And then it's another favorite for them because it was a transition in them being able to acknowledge, that I am here now. Right. So let me look at this now that I'm in, and let me take Army with me as we walk. And that's that acknowledgement of you never walk alone. Yay! I love when things come together. So the folio, I 100% agree with you. Anyone thoughts? Yay! Kelly's like, I came out at the right time. You did.
We just play that song and listen to that song and envision a few videos we've seen with him in that.
Well, because we're trying to do soap, I'm obviously we're traversing back, and this is our main theme of the walking with soap. And it wasn't a problem for me at all to address it, because literally Hobie gave us that entire concept of walking with soap. So we're going to go ahead and do our Hobie reel.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! And then
he has taken us on a ride the last few days, hasn't he?
My poor body.
Did you listen to him this morning? Or on the
we were on the station head together, remember?
Yeah, the station head, I was on there.
We did a streaming our first one with the group this morning, and that was pretty cool. It was a little weird. Wait, I think I have it out of order. Here. It was this. This is the question. I caught his face a little crazy, but this is the question. What would it have been like if I had enjoyed my life more? Yes. Yes to all of this. Write this question for yourself. Because no matter what, as you're walking along and looking at your existence and where you are in your happiness factor, it's about knowing what would life have been for me if I'd actually allowed myself to live in the joy of that moment. That's a massive concept. And that we did so much and regretting not being able to enjoy it moving along, because he's acknowledging in this Suchwita that I sat and wrote music.
Right.
I sat and wrote music. It was my job. I followed my job. I did all of that. But at the same time, did I truly enjoy all of it the way I needed to? And he's like, now I sort of miss those times. And then the one that's in the folio in our thing says, I guess I can start enjoying it now, which is now why you understand why I put that picture in here.
Right.
And now the transition with that walking phase is about Hobie being on that train in the same position that he would have been in. And I didn't get a chance. I was making it the one between Spring Day Proof and this one, how he's in that same position in the train.
Same position.
And how he made a choice to reflect back, as that's forward movement. So as he's riding on that train, if you remember, he talked about that train in the past. In Spring Day, he was on top of the train. If you remember in the actual music video. He was the only one who was on top at one point. And his choice with Proof when he came back was to stand in front of that train. And was like, okay, so it had a huge amount of purpose and meaning in terms of his choices. So I think that the choice to sit in this position it's just this about this juxtaposition about him being able to say, I'm here now. I was there. And even from Festa, I am now here.
Right.
And he told us that because he said that in his live the other day, actually. That life was breathtaking. I just adored that he gave us that live. It meant so much.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to do the video. I'm sorry. Obviously, I love this picture.
That's beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Because it means so much. That picture just means so much. So let me just run down and do my Hobie reel real quick. And it's the longer one.
Every time I work, every time I run, every time I move, as always for us. Every time I look, every time I love, every time I hope, as always for us. 내도 빠른 선택걸어 anywhere, J in the air. 그는 길이 희망이 되고자 하연하고 태어 입은 my world was made of your love in your face. 보다 볼해 저 멀리서라도 나비가 돼. Just walk life whenever you want. Go on hopefully wherever you walk. 누군가의 숨이 깃들여 있는 거리 내 영혼과 영원을.
Had to go and put that at the end. I left it, even though it was hard to leave it there.
I know. I had to have like closure when we were making that.
I know.
we were on the live listening, watching the video together the first time, and I think all of us watched it once and we were speechless. And then we had to watch it again and again and again and again. Yeah, it was. It's just a beautiful song. Don't cry. Don't cry.
Don't cry because you know we're all going to do it. And now that Naomi's here, she knows I'm going to do it.
But I think, I think it's like, I think like what Jen did, right? Having some closure before you start kind of that next thing. It's super important. I think like closure for people when they move or when they do things when, like I know when children move, it's really important to have closure, to start your new chapter. And I think that he's done that beautifully.
I'm just going back to the comments and they're out of order, but I think I know what Kelly, he's absolutely done it in such a way that I feel like every time I see him right now, it's like taking a breath. I take a big breath, and it's not always easy to let that breath get in.
Yeah.
Because I know that there's a lot of sadness attached to it. But my pride in this boy, my pride in all 7 of them, if you know me, you understand that it's like part of me.
Yeah.
They're part of my breathing of my existence. So, but when, I mean, I'm 57, so he's a man. Yes, thank you. But he's taught me so much in such a short time. He's regrounded me again. So the choice that Hobie made to be able to take us on this journey for the last 12 months is pretty phenomenal. The choice that he made to share his struggle, to know who he was, as a human being, much less as an not just as an artist, right?
Right.
Uh, it was about his struggle to know who Hoseok was and knowing how to walk out of the plane of Hoseok and go back to one of the other personalities that he is. So if you have a moment, I really actually want the answer to this question. I know we didn't talk about this, but it was actually something I really wanted an answer to. How does our connection to Yoongi help create a ballast or help ground army to the extent that we have the Marry Me Yoongi aesthetic as a real vibe? Why do you think this has caught on like it has? It's fun, don't get me wrong, but it's actually a true vibe. It's a connective vibe, and there's a reason why it has its wildfire and caught on. Yes, I would love to get the perspective of Army of being able to understand that. So,
well, I've seen kind of both. I mean, I've seen, someone post on Twitter last week that they're hoping they don't attend Yoongi's concert with tangerines, cats, and wedding dresses. So I've seen people, the whole kind of people kind of maybe over it a little bit to where people are still like, the Marry Me Yoongi is everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I have reasons for why I think it's what it is. I'm going to put up the next question, so you have a few moments to answer. This is the one I actually want. If you could answer the most engaging part of Yoongi and Hoseok's personality that you aspire to as a parent, educator, and wellness specialist. What are for me? So that's you and me. So I'm technically addressing it to you and me. What are two key personality traits that we've seen from these two geniuses that have really helped us, I think, to be able to walk our own path a little more clearly and maybe make the path less rocky? I'm going to go back to Hoseok while you maybe challenge that question a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a parent, you hope, and as an educator, I hope that you have children. You're raising children that have perseverance, right, and don't give up. And so you see someone like Yoongi, like jhope with a dream, and they didn't give up. So you have somebody that has that real strength and determination. I think that, I mean, for me, for my children, my own personal children, and the kids that I teach, I hope that they have that and pursue their dreams, because there's nothing worse than being unhappy and being an unhappy adult and not being yourself. So I really do think that, those are some personality traits from those two members that I think that are really important for children to have.
So 2 would be.
Oh, let's see. My second one, I don't know. How would you say it? Being true to yourself. I don't know if there's a word for that, but the one thing I think that they've always been is deep down true to themselves and what they love to do, whether it's dance or write or produce. But I think that deep down they've never lost their sense of who they are and what they want to do. Maybe that kind of goes with perseverance a little bit too. But what are your two?
I like perseverance, though.
What are your two?
I'm going to say transitional confidence because I wrote it.
Sure. I like that phrase.
It's not a concept that most people maybe have heard commonly. And I tend to make things up. Being in Men and Health, I kind of create words that make sense for something. So transitional confidence is something that I've seen in most all of them. But when we're talking about the soap dynamic, it is about being able to wheedle out where you are in this moment and say, I have to transition from this moment. And I have to recognize that for me to move forward with confidence, I have to find the me today. And I know that Hoseok from the get-go recognized that before he even debuted. Hoseok talked about the Pandora's box and the fact that he understood that he was coming into this being in a box. Who knows that at 19? That's just phenomenal. So the transitional confidence of knowing I'm going to go through this struggle. Wow. Right. I mean, wow. What a beautiful sense of self and awareness. So
Right.
that's my thing, transitional confidence, but
Mhm.
sense of self and awareness of self,
Mhm.
I would say, as a personality trait for both of them. Because again, the reason we could get interlude set me free, or we could get interlude shadow, or we could get Dechita, is because Yoongi's like, I understand I'm in transition and I have to be able to find a way to express that part of me. And I'm going to express it through my lyrics. I'm going to express
Mhm.
it through letting people know I'm angry, I'm in pain, and I'm
Mhm.
hurting. And Hobie gave it to us because he gave us Jamais Vu. That was such a raw, introspective
Mm.
choice to tell people I'm struggling. Then he
Mhm.
gave us Disease, which we talked about before, and when we did his thing. And Disease is just a brilliant piece of understanding that I get that the disease is about the world trying to crumble me,
Right.
and trying to suppress me, or
Right. Keep
that
you
everyone
down.
else, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and keep you down.
And keep you down. So
Mhm.
I want to just show Mang the lead up to Inside Mang, because I realize Hobie, again, this foresight, and there's foresight also. Foresight,
Mhm.
foresight, foresight. Use this one. You want to grab the comments while I'm doing this
Sure.
in a minute? Is
No,
his
they're
foresight
great.
to understand that 5 years ago, when he created Mang, that he was creating this character with a mask. Um,
Mhm.
mhm, 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 mhm. I think that he knew that he was valued, or that he had value, but
Had
to
value.
understand his place. Otherwise, Hobie would never have left them. He didn't have the personality to just walk away when he knew how much they needed him. He just didn't understand his place, and he said, maybe my place isn't here. And so I'm leaving because I don't think you guys actually need me. Maybe
Right.
I don't fit into the puzzle enough
Mhm.
to give you what you need. But then we have Cookie running after him and going, are you kidding me? I
Mhm.
can't exist without you. What are you talking
Mhm.
about? If you don't do
Mhm.
it, I'm not doing this. So, um, protecting the real Yoongi. So I'm getting
Mhm.
my answers. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
We have a lot of
Very
Yoongi.
humble.
Well, the humility. You remember when J-Hope was Hobie was on the palette with IU? I watched it again for the third time, and she said never in all of her time, and she's been in an industry a while, has she met someone so humble, that
Mhm.
humility just literally shines from him. And I
Right.
just thought that was such a beautiful uh, telling of who this man is as a
Mhm.
human being, and how truly, truly, truly uh, beautiful he has as a human being. So hang on one second. My plug came out. Just one sec. Sorry about that. Real life problems.
There you go. Technology. Mhm. Thank you so much for all your wonderful
These
comments.
comments are unreal. I'm going to get to them.
Mhm.
Let me just play the man really quickly, and then you'll understand. Well, don't have to tell you now, because now you see where the man fits into this entire concept, because
Right.
it's a concept of revealing the self. Talk about the
Mhm.
timing. So we got On the Street and Mang in the same
Mhm.
week.
I know.
My heart. I mean, people here will tell you how hard this has been for me this week.
Well, and then did somebody have the picture of Chimmy hanging up all the
Mhm.
Mang masks,
Yes.
hanging them all up to dry?
Mhm. I mean,
Oh,
that's
so
such a concept. The concept is that the only people who knows
mhm.
who they are unmasked is
Right,
themselves. It's the seven of
right.
them. And that he's
Mhm.
always shown. Yes, I agree. Yep.
I definitely that's one J-Hope moment that always has stuck with me is when he was, he kinda wipes his eyes here, and he's like, "It's okay, I'll show you."
Mm-hmm.
Mhm,
That is what he said in the long run, right? It was okay. I am going to show you, and I think that manga is a huge representation of that as a character, because they wrote the character so truly to that being. Mang had to prove himself, or them, because I actually think it's them. Mang had to prove themselves in the dance world, and it was actually proven to be a genius.
이 친구 뭔가 최종적인 목표는 이 가면을 벗는 거.
이제 이 친구도 이제 준비가 된 거죠. 오케이, 이 정도면 완벽해. 딱 시점이 온 것 같더라고요. 와, 진짜 망이 가면 벗었는데 이런 얼굴 있으면 막막하죠. 어떻게 해야 되지? 저도 그렇거든요. 내 그림이 이게 보통이 아닙니다. 야, 망이 있지 않나라는 생각이 들어요. 컨텐츠 짬바가 있는데 좀 제대로 만들어 보시죠. 도와주십시오.
How many people watched the episode inside Mang? You because you put it and you were like, "Are you okay?" I was like, oh my god! I sat there going, when Mang spoke to him and thanked him, the kumawo, I was like,
when he talked right to him and he said, "Thank you. If I hadn't met you, if you didn't create me, I wouldn't have met Tata and Mang, and met, or not me, but all the other characters." It was so sweet, and I felt like he had
understood who I was. I wouldn't have understood the joy of being me if I hadn't met you. And Hobie didn't write that. That was the staff. That was the actual people saying that. And I thought about that. My God, how much must they also understand the beauty of his energy? It's just, but like being in his space is being in his space. If you've been around Hobie, I'm trying to get, because we had 23 comments, so I'm trying to get to them.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I agree. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to run through them. I don't want to not. In the beginning, they were not. They were actually, because if you look at my original reels, there was a lot of army. But once they started to get bigger, they're antis, or because they're not army if they say something bad about one of them, right? That's just my philosophy. I'm sorry.
Right.
But in the long run, he chose to always stay hopeful because that's who he was, and to always show that happiness factor, because that's something that it was who he is. I hope he was never going to change that part of who he was for anybody. Yeah, and he's Yoongi's battery, always keeping him charged, and all of their batteries, their happiness and joy battery. Yep, sorry, I'm just trying to get through these real quick. So interesting because he has vacillated, but he's been an extrovert, I think.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah. He says, "I'm okay."
No, we always ask him, and he's like, "I'm okay." Yeah. So the staff that they had originally, you could tell that those were people who just, they treated them as kids.
Right.
But the people who are there now understand them as human beings, and they have a relationship. So when, I love this part. Yeah, I love it.
Who would ever think that him talking to that character would really make you in tears? But it's almost like I said, closure, like saying goodbye to Mang too for a while.
But we're not losing Mang. We're just getting a different version of Mang. And I think that he's leaving that Mang for us, so we have him. Yeah. So I believe that's because inside Mang, that was just one episode. So I don't know how many pieces of that show there is, but it would have been strange to me, and I talked to my daughter about it, if they had just done the reveal like that. I was like, okay, wait, they didn't do it, but no, actually I understand it. It's again peeling it away so that we can slowly see but their choice to have him talk directly to
Talking to him, I know.
him was like this masterpiece of understanding of human nature. Human nature is gratitude. So remember when we started the show today and I talked about the concept of gratitude and moving it forward.
Right.
They're all the epitome of a forward movement of gratitude.
Right.
Does that make sense in that concept, everyone?
Mm-hmm.
At no point in life with these young men, and again, I've been with them a long time, so at no point have they ever not had an instilled a sense of gratitude for what we were able to give them versus them saying we're giving you this. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't about what they were giving us. It was about what they were giving us and whether or not that made us happy. It was about them feeling the satisfaction was in us being happy. Yeah?
Right.
That's for young. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that makes perfect sense. I mean, I think a lot of people that have worked with him have also talked about, you know, that they're humble and gracious, you know, and that comes a lot, like, you know, someone said with their staff. I mean, that comes from the support that they have with their staff as well. But the idea of bringing Mang in to him, I was not expecting that. And it was really one of the sweetest clips that I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I'm going to put this question up. I've watched it a few times. I am a little, you know, it makes life, as you know, very difficult sometimes to hold on just a second, because you know we're actually a moving show, so sometimes what we're doing doesn't always get done ahead of time. We do try because we prepare things and so we don't think that it's actually going to be something we need, and then lo and behold we actually need it.
Yeah, true.
And so so let me grab the second part of that question, then I'm going to quickly read. Sorry, I know it. I put that out. It cut off some of it. I apologize. So, okay. It's a big question. It's a big question. So, which do you identify with the most?
See, there's ones that I consider are more of like performer type. There's definitely one that I identify more with him on stage, and one that I identify more with him kind of in casual conversations when I hear him, you know, in videos or interviews. I can flow. I can definitely see that. But definitely more like Hobie and jhope, I have to say.
I've called him Hobie forever, so.
Yeah, that's right. And jhope, you know, to me is always like jhope, you know, kind of that like real energetic, his giggle, you know, I kind of identify with those.
Giggle is too much. Hi, Maggie. Nice to see you. Thank you. So you guys weigh in on that one. Tell me which one you feel like you identify with the most, and we're going to break out the actual folio. Do we have that folio reel still in here?
We should.
And then, Hobie has been a beacon for millions of Army. What qualities or aspects of his personality and attitude do you connect and aspire to emulate? Big question. Really big question. I get that. So for me, it's his calm. His calm. His ability to stay calm. Because when he talked on Disney Plus, he talked about the different parts of himself. And because he just did the thing with Inside Out, and it was absolutely brilliant. So if you hadn't watched the Inside Out Disney Plus Korea Inside Out reel, please watch it, because he talks about why Inside Out is his favorite film and why he connects so clearly with each of the aspects between joy and sadness, and how he learned that in his life the joy and sadness are a constant state of toggle and movement and flow back and forth, and that they flow within each other, and you can't have one without the other. You can't have a constant state of joy. That's just not reality. And so he talks about that, and then he's like, you don't want to be around me when I get disgust, because that's not the one you want. And you certainly don't want to be around me when I get angry, because yes,
Mhm.
I get angry. We've seen the angry Hobie. That one you don't want to be around. When that face is on him, that you don't want that. But what a revelation. So this is, if I had to say anything, it was to understand his sense of awareness, to be able to so openly identify and be transparent about the fact that his emotions are moving all the time.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that his emotional transparency is extremely something I very much connect to and have always done
Mhm.
since he was young. And then of
Mhm.
course his calmness. I will physically go, okay, let me do a few minutes of Hobie time. I'm calm. So,
Mm.
and
Do you
then
want I have the all new Hope clip. Do you want to see that?
please do. I'm gonna
Mm.
put up the
Yeah.
link. Oh,
Yeah.
it's always my Hobie and my Hoseok. You will
Yeah.
rarely hear me say J Hope. I don't.
Really?
I
No, I said you hope.
since the beginning. He's been Hoseok and Hobie. It's been interesting.
Hobie, definitely.
But I
Definitely.
love Jay, man. Jay killed us at Lollapalooza. Woo!
Yes, he did.
Jay allowed to feel this, right? Oh
Yes, he
my god.
did.
Yep.
Yeah, J-Hope. Yeah, for me, that's definitely that. He's with the J-Hope.
I think it's actually about the fact that even his transparency. So yeah, his personality is this beautiful state of personality, and he's a sunshine. But at the same time, that's a huge choice to make. Is that he was Naja? I'm going to show it in a second. It's a huge choice that Hobie has always made to maintain the Hobie personality, when
Right,
Hobie could have easily made a choice to go a different direction, because
right.
he was definitely directed in his way. And also, as the person always helping Namjoon, being able to be a ballast for calm in the middle of all of the chaos. It's I'm putting it in here. So now just said this, Jay Hottie. I'll take it. Oh my god.
I love that.
Dude, what did I put in LB7 in Living Bangtan 7's wellness moments yesterday? I'm not gonna say what it was. But everybody who's in the Discord knows what I put in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved this particular live he just did, because he showed, oh my god, every personality that there was possible. He treated us to that nervousness, to the wonder, to the silliness,
Mm,
to his joy factor, to his angst. We got all of it in that short live
everything.
before On the Street went live. On the Street,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have to do something completely different with, I think, at some point, because I want to be able to sit and clearly peel away what those verses mean, even though we
Mm-hmm.
talked about it today. Do you want to go ahead and put up the A New Hope reel?
Sure. His folio.
And I think I treated everyone last week because I got it so quickly, and how I showed you my favorites from last week. I got tased last night, by the way. Finally, I was like,
Did you?
3 months. Look at this. Oh, look at that pretty face.
Gorgeous.
Not just a pretty face, right? It's this beautifully settled, very, very, very just this, not just angelic, right? I don't want to use those words anymore, but he made choices in here to be able to show us the emotions. And if you look at the emotion in the eyes, it's really astounding to me. I always say that Hobie would just, as an actor, would be just unreal. Just unreal. I thought that this piece with the imploding, the movement of all of the stone, because Hobie focused on the elements, right? So this piece, there's the focus of the elements, and with the movement of those elements exploding around him, and then the implosion, which we talked about in the past with the fire. But in this case, with the elements, it was giving us an opportunity for him to find his space within those elements. He's an Aquarian, so by the way, his folio makes all the sense in the world as an Aquarian, because we connect to the earth sign. So, and we connect very much to the grounding aspect. And then, to be as bright and as possible. I'm Aquarian also, so I kind of understand. I kind of understand it. So I think his folio is again an expression of his transitional confidence. And his ability to maintain just this pure beauty in the middle of all of the stress. Thank you so much, Charlene. I really appreciate you going on. Yes, Naja, you should go to Discord so you can see what I posted. I knew that. I'm so happy you came on to be able to get the Hobie part of the whole thing. But I mean, I know you love I know that you love soap, so you guys. Right, exactly. It's exactly what it is, because that's what he gave us. Folio was that constant state. That's what the burning of the seesaw was, and we talked about it at the last show. For him, is that's what he was explaining. And the symbolism of connecting to hope in this world are lost food. Yes. The fact that he made an entire track, this voice, just this voice, explaining him. Who does things like this?
And connected to Pandora's box. I mean, I'm a Greek mythology geek. And I love the concept of Pandora's box.
Dude, so am I, Naja. Same sun and moon. He's literally, I tell people, I constantly say it. I'm so sorry to cut you off. He's literally one half of me by 28 years. I mean, that's it. We're half. So it's insane. I'm so sorry. I totally agree with you. I think at some point, since we started so late in the game, we'll go back and probably do Jack in the Box. I think it's probably a good idea to go back and do it. We haven't had a chance to.
We haven't.
Yep, we twins. See, I knew it. 100% twins. Same star and moon. It's nuts. That's why I connect so much. Obviously, I connect with all of them, but Hobie, Yep, absolutely. Well, I
love it.
The members really deep dive into the mythology and spiritual context, because that's why we got, we get throughout the Wings era. That's really what we're diving into. All right, so I think we're about ready to close up. We did give you the title on the, I think we actually went through most of this already, that the title on the street refers to J-Hope's roots as a former competitive street dancer and they're a member of Gwangju Dance Crew Neuron that got him on the path to being recruited by Big Hit in 2010 and later to becoming a member of BTS. Hope on the Street is also the name of J-Hope's street dancing video series. He's been publishing since 2015. And then for the song, he invited J. Cole after because he reached out to him after Lollapalooza, and it became their first collaboration. But for us, of course, we wanted it. He showed his admiration for J. Cole and for the song Simba, which, as you know, on the street, literally is a mirror image of Simba. If you go back to it, I mean, my God, it may be in two different parts of the city, but it's a mirror image in so many ways. And the fact that J. Cole was like, yeah, take this concept and let this concept work for you is incredible. When I watched it the first time, y'all heard me. You were with me and you knew I was in tears. And I was like, I can't believe this. This is Simba. Yeah. And that song had meant so much to Hobie in the past. And a lot of people may not realize it, but yes, I do listen to that. I've been listening to rap a long time. And so he's talked about, Cole World, and he's Cole World. And here we got the shout out to Cole World in the music video. Incredible. So, go back in 2022 is where they got the approval to actually publish it in proof, Born Singer. He said that I wanted to get closer to my contemporaries, people like me, as we live through the same age. I wanted to share down-to-earth hope and comfort, and that's what On the Street is about. I thought On the Street would be a great song to reveal this time around with the sense change of season from winter to spring. I wanted to share warmth through the song to serve as a shelter from the cold. Dude, just I'm going to share this because this was it for me. I think that if I needed something to keep me okay, when it's time for him to go, it's the fact that he said this to me. And it's the same that Jin gave us. Jin gave us this masterpiece, and Hobie chose to give us something to keep us warm and to keep us safe and protected when he was gone, so we'd always know that that's what we had from him. And since the release of Jack in the Box, he kept asking himself, what drove me here? Who made me who I am now? You get the next one, by the way, and then we're going to close out. As an artist who expresses himself through music and stage, I realize that it helps me to move forward. And this is our moving forward, our walking forward path, and learn new things through reflecting on my roots and reminding myself of where I came from. It is a part of the learning process to become a more mature artist. All of this is from the Variety interview. It's brilliant. And you get the next one.
Oh, did you put it in?
Yep, it's here.
The On the Street?
Way down. It goes back to Lollapalooza. Sorry. I know you got so caught up in it, right? That's okay. You could do the next one. I'll do the how did the collaboration happen? He said it goes back to Lollapalooza last summer. J. Cole was being his idol and they met there. Since then, I couldn't stop thinking about how great it would be if we could make music together. So I reached out to him. I had a plan in mind to release music around this time, and I began working on it in early November of 2022. As much as it took me a while to finish the song, I cherish it so much, and it means a lot to me. Can you think about the fact that Jin did the same thing when he needed to make a song for us and for him to be able to leave an armor for us? It's literally armor. And then he left us TA with Coldplay. And now Hobie's leaving us on the street with his idol, J. Cole. They both got to give us this gift with their idols. I can't even. Do you want to do the last one and then we're going to close?
Is it what have the artist said about the collaboration?
Yep.
Yeah. To be honest, he says it still feels unreal. It's such an honor. Looking back, we've gone through so much to make this happen. It wasn't always easy. If you listen to J. Cole's verse, you can see how he really put his whole soul into it to tell the story of his life and true feelings within. It took a long time to work on it, and when I finally heard his verse, I was deeply moved. I also put in a lot of effort to convey my genuine feelings. If you watch my documentary film, J-Hope in the Box, you can tell how hard I tried to speak out of my heart, even with my lack of English while meeting him at Lollapalooza. As I'm a big fan who full-heartedly supports J. Cole, I think my sincerity reached him. The whole process was such an invaluable experience. I mean, this was a great interview the other day to read
Stunning interview. Just
about how everything came together and all his feelings he had about the song and working with J. Cole. It's a great interview. Did we put the link in? I think if people haven't read it, it's a great interview.
I know that we're really at the end now, so we need to.
We have to be, yeah.
We did have a catch up of what happened in the week. If we want to take 2 seconds and really read it quickly at the end. Everything BTS.
Oh.
It's in purple.
Did you go down? Sorry. There we go. Oh, more of Ginny's Kitchen. Great. His Siminvest commercial. Cookies, 2 Lives. Thoughts on his revelation about the stalking him at the gym. Jin is now private first class Jin. Inside Mang BT21. Hopefully another episode of that will come. Pictures with Hobie and Jimin together. The dance challenge, the on the street dance challenge. The high buyouts up in the air. There's a little bit about that in the news each day. The Tiffany's brand ambassador with Jimin. Namjoon and Milan, really exemplifying this look. It was, beautifully tailored. Simple elegance and flair. And I think you almost feel like this is his look.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I kind of connected to it. I think with Ginny, he was also named the top social media SNS personality for the last 20 months, surprisingly. And then there was a beautiful article on the brand relativity of Jimin. It's a beautiful article. I'll probably put that in the site. And then we, with Namjoon.
They also won Nickelodeon Group of the Year again.
So they now have broken another Guinness World Record as the group to win the most awards at Nickelodeon. Right. So they broke their own record, technically.
Mm-hmm. So much this week.
And then Namjoon's like a few seconds live from the week before, but whether we're still waiting to find out from him, his change with his IG, all those things, still waiting to see what the forward movement is for him in terms of a lot of things. So I think we have a lot up in the air for us at this moment. So I will say we always adjust the show based on what BTS is doing out in the world.
You never know.
Because we have no concept. So thank you so much for being part of our show today, to all of our wonderful army.
Thank you. Thank you for all the wonderful comments and contributions. Enjoyed it so much.
So you know that Living Bangtan 7 is a platform of the DG, or Diversity Geek team, that we created to bring you wellness discussions, content, and musings based on the healing positive messages of Bangtan Sonyeondan. The name means living bulletproof 24/7, as we said before. Our purpose is to help us all learn how to live confidently with self-love throughout the day, and is a reminder of the power the bulletproof or Bangtan philosophy has as a source of healing, healthy coping, and support when we are struggling to believe in ourselves. And where the focus of our organization has been to guide fans across the globe to embrace the healthy, healing messages of their fandom passions as a credible source of establishing self-care and positive self-identity. And this LB7 was born from a shared mutual love and respect for Bangtan Sonyeondan, and a fandom that has rewritten the narrative for the connective influence and dynamic a fandom can have at a global level. And there we have it. Follow us on all of our social media sites. Please like and subscribe to everything that you can, so that we can bring you more content as possible. We are probably going to be launching a small Patreon. We're talking about it now, so that we can give you shorter snippets versus the longer show, because our show is really expansive and we cover a lot, and it's a lot to be on for an hour and a half at a time for anyone. So we're kind of probably going to start separating it up a little bit and having Patreon levels for some of what we do. So look forward to that, and please join us for our dual set with Bangtan, which is self-care with BTS workshops that we are hosting twice a month. Look at our Facebook page and you're going to see it on there. And that's due out next week is our next one. And we have a lot coming for you. So just pay attention to us on Twitter, pay attention to us on Instagram, pay attention to us on Facebook, pay attention to us on YouTube. And I think we have two lovelies who are going to help us get our TikTok up and running pretty soon. And we have a blog spot with the articles that we've been writing. That's all going to launch in the next few months. So we love you, Army. Barahe. I hope I got
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, my lovely Angela, without whom none of this is possible.
Thank you for all you do.
It's so hard to get this done. We talked about the ticketing experience at the beginning, and Army, who are with us in our Discord, and who we're going to be doing events with Yoongi on tour. Because we're going to be going live from a lot of our little Bangtan excursions when that happens. So April and May, look forward to a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So, all right, my loves.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.